Most people believe that thinking more means being more prepared. They believe that if they run every scenario in their head, every bad thing that could happen, every mistake they could make, every conversation that could go wrong, they'll be safer. Like the mind is a security system. Always watching. Always protecting. But here's what nobody explains clearly enough. A security system that never turns off isn't protection. It's a threat. When your mind runs at full speed 24 hours a day, it doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you exhausted. And I'm not talking about physical exhaustion, the kind you feel after working out or moving heavy things. I'm talking about the exhaustion that hits you even when you didn't do anything. The kind where you wake up tired. Where you sit down to rest and your brain won't let you. Where you finish a day that wasn't even that hard and feel completely drained. That's mental exhaustion. And it comes directly from a mind that is constantly working against you. Think about it. How many times today did you think about something that hasn't happened yet? How many problems did you solve in your head that don't exist in real life? How many conversations did you rehearse, worst cases did you plan for, disasters did you prepare yourself for, that never actually came? Your mind does this automatically. It's not your fault. But it is your problem. And the longer you let it run without understanding what's happening, the more control it takes from you. But here's the thing, the mind doesn't do this randomly. There's a specific reason it works this way. And once you understand it, everything changes. Your brain was built for survival. Not for happiness. Not for peace. Not for enjoying the present moment. For survival. Thousands of years ago, the human mind had one job, keep you alive. And to do that, it had to be suspicious. It had to look for danger in everything. It had to assume the worst, because assuming the worst kept you breathing. If you heard a noise in the woods and you thought, probably nothing, you might get eaten. But if you heard that same noise and your brain screamed, danger, run, you lived another day. So your brain learned. It rewired itself around fear. Around worst-case scenarios. Around constant alertness. And now, thousands of years later, you still carry that same brain. Except now, there's no lion in the woods. Now the danger is a meeting tomorrow. An unanswered text. A comment someone made last Tuesday. A bill. A decision. A relationship. A future you can't control. Your brain treats all of it the same way it treated real physical threats. It floods your body with stress signals. It keeps you on edge. It makes you feel like you need to act, solve, fix, right now. Even when there's nothing to act on. Nothing to fix. Nothing happening. This is why your mind never stops. It's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. But the problem is, it was designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And it's running that old program in your modern life, every single day. And that creates something most people never connect to anxiety. Something that silently destroys your ability to rest, think clearly, and feel like yourself. When your mind runs on high alert constantly, it doesn't just make you tired. It starts changing how you see everything. Let me give you a few examples that might feel familiar. Someone sends you a short, dry message, and your brain immediately starts building a story. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? Did I say something off? You spend the next hour in your head, running through every possible explanation. Or you're trying to sleep. Your body is tired. The room is dark. Everything is quiet. But your mind is reviewing the entire day, rehearsing tomorrow, digging up old memories, jumping between conversations, plans, fears, random thoughts you didn't invite. Or you're sitting with someone you care about, but you're not really there. You're somewhere else. In the future. In a problem. In your head. This is what a mind working against you looks like in real life. And here's what I've come to believe after thinking deeply about this. Most people aren't anxious because their life is hard. They're anxious because their mind turned the volume of life all the way up, and they never learned how to turn it down. The situations aren't always that bad. but the mental noise around them is unbearable. Every small uncertainty becomes a crisis. Every silence becomes a sign. Every unknown becomes a threat. And the mind keeps adding more. More thoughts. More scenarios. More what-ifs. Until you feel completely overwhelmed by problems you built entirely inside your own head. I've seen this pattern so many times. Someone says, "I have so much to deal with." And when you look at their actual life, the weight isn't in the circumstances. The weight is in the thinking. The exhausting part isn't life. It's the commentary your mind runs about life. Every single moment. And that commentary, that non-stop inner voice, has a very specific trick it uses to keep you trapped. And most people fall for it without realizing. Here's something your mind does that almost nobody talks about. It disguises worry as preparation. Your brain knows that you wouldn't let it just run wild for no reason. So it tricks you. It tells you that all this thinking is useful. That you're being responsible. That you're planning ahead. That if you think about the worst enough times, you'll be ready for it. Keep thinking about this, your mind says. You need to be prepared. You can't stop now. What if something goes wrong and you didn't think it through enough? And you listen. Because it sounds reasonable. But there's a difference between thinking that leads somewhere and thinking that just loops. Real preparation ends. You think something through, you find an answer or a plan, and you move on. But worry doesn't end. It just keeps cycling. The same thoughts, over and over. The same fears, dressed up differently. The same what-ifs, with no real destination. And your brain calls that thinking. But it's not thinking. It's spinning. You're not solving anything. You're not preparing for anything. You're just burning energy on a loop that leads you right back to where you started, except more tired. And the scariest part of this trick? The more you worry, the more convinced you become that you have to keep worrying. That stopping would be irresponsible. That if you let go, something bad will happen. So you stay inside it. Not because it helps, but because your mind made you believe it's the only way to be safe. And that belief, that worrying keeps you protected, is exactly what keeps your mind working against you, day after day. But here's where something real shifts. Because once you understand what's actually happening, you can start doing something about it. Not a magic fix. Not a trick. Something that actually works. I want to be honest with you here. There's no switch you can flip to make your mind stop completely. Anyone who tells you, just stop overthinking, or simply relax, doesn't understand what's actually happening in your head. This isn't a habit you picked up. It's a deeply wired pattern. It takes real work to change. But there are things that genuinely help. Not in a fake, positive thinking kind of way. In a real, biological, neurological kind of way. The first thing is this: recognize the loop when it starts. Not to stop it immediately, but just to see it. To notice, my mind is running the worst-case scenario again. This is the loop. That moment of recognition creates a small gap. A tiny space between you and the thought. And in that space, you have a little more control. Because right now, when the loop starts, you're inside it before you even realize what's happening. You're already 3 scenarios deep, heart beating faster, body tense, and you don't even know when it started. Just learning to notice it changes something. The second thing is, ask your mind for evidence. Not to argue with it. Just to slow it down. When your mind says, this is going to go wrong, ask, what's the actual evidence for that right now? Not in the future. Not based on fear. Right now, in this moment, what is actually happening? Most of the time, the honest answer is, nothing. The threat isn't real yet. It's a projection. A story the mind is writing about what might happen. And when you put that story next to reality, it loses some of its power. The third thing is the one most people skip, and it's the most important. You have to give your nervous system real rest. Not distraction. Not scrolling. Not staying busy. Actual rest. Where your body and mind are allowed to do nothing for a few minutes. This is hard. For people who overthink, rest feels wrong. It feels like wasting time. It feels dangerous, like if you stop, everything will fall apart. But your nervous system is running on overdrive. And overdrive has a cost. The longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to come down. Rest isn't laziness. For an overworked mind, rest is recovery. And recovery is the only way to start getting your mind back on your side. But there's one more thing. Something deeper. The root of why all of this is so hard to break, and what it actually means to finally be free from it. Here's the truth I want to leave you with. The reason your mind works against you isn't because you're weak. It's not because you're broken. It's not even because you're anxious. It's because nobody ever taught you that your thoughts are not the same as reality. You grew up believing that if you thought something, it must mean something. That if you felt afraid, the danger must be real. That if your mind said, "This will go wrong," you had better listen. But thoughts are not facts. Fear is not proof. Your mind's version of the future is just a story, one of many possible stories. And it almost always picks the darkest one, not because that's what's going to happen, but because that's what it was built to do. The problem isn't that you think too much. The problem is that you believed everything you thought. And the moment you stop believing every story your mind tells you, the moment you learn to watch the thoughts without following them, something shifts. The noise doesn't disappear overnight. But you stop being controlled by it. You start to have a mind that works with you. That thinks when you need it to think. That rests when you need it to rest. That stops running scenarios on loop at 2 a.m. when there's nothing you can do anyway. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you finally understand what's actually going on inside your own head. Your mind is powerful. Incredibly powerful. But right now, it's spending that power on problems that don't exist, in a future that hasn't arrived, preparing for disasters that will probably never happen. And you deserve to use that power for something else. Something real. Something present. Something that actually matters. That's what this is all about.